Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us tonight. It's down at the Crossroads Radio. I'm Sean Sellers with Jake Bell, Mr. David Humphrey, Pam, and our producer Michelle Sellers will be doing our news. We appreciate everybody joining us tonight. Jake, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. David?
What's up?
All right.
How's everybody?
We're ready to go. It's going to
Yes,
be a
sir.
fun show.
Doing
We got an excellent guest scheduled the second hour, so it should be a lot of fun tonight. So I guess there's only one way to do it, and just get started as always. We got a lot of big things going on. Special shout outs to all the SPR family and friends, everybody out there, everything you do. Our case manager, Rick Dees, everybody out there. Special thanks to Tom Inslee and WSFA. We're doing our blogs. Pretty much doing 2 a week on WSFA.com on the community page. Check out Chronicles of a Supernaturalist. Our book is out. We'll appreciate that. Our website, southernparanormalresearchers.org and SeanSellers.com. We got some big events coming up. Got some events to talk about as well. January 28th, next Friday night, we're going to be at the Phoenix and the Dragon book signing in Atlanta, Georgia. I think we'll be there around 7 o'clock Eastern time, so it should be a lot of fun. If you're in Atlanta, Georgia, interested in seeing us, we'll be right there. Wow. February 12th, we're at the Mystical Emporium at 7 p.m. in Montgomery, Alabama. February 18th to 20th, we're in Chattanooga, Tennessee at Connuga. March 19th, we're in Birmingham, Alabama at Sloss Furnace doing an investigation. May 20th and 22nd, we got a MagicCon in Birmingham, Alabama. And June 3rd through 5th, Con Carolinas in Charlotte, North Carolina. We've also got some other events I'm really excited about, and Josh is going to be calling in probably around 9:45 on next Saturday night. Not this Saturday, next Saturday night. We're going to be in Prattville, Alabama at Rockin' Wrestling at the Armory.
Absolutely good times.
Not even rockin' wrestling, but rockin' wrestling.
Yes.
Rockin' wrestling.
So we're going to have a table. We're going to be there. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really excited about that. And we appreciate Josh giving us the opportunity to do that. He does a great job promoting the wrestling and everything he does, and we're looking forward for him to call in a little bit later. Also, we've got something else I'm really excited about and want to mention. Is going to be coming up February 4th at 11 a.m. and February 6th at 2 a.m. Location Center Stage, Atlanta, West Peachtree at 17th Street in Atlanta, Georgia. It's going to be the Truth Convention and Symposium. The Truth. The largest, most complete assembly of speakers on all things left out of the American mainstream. So that's definitely a really cool event. Definitely check that out. It's the Truth Truth Seekers, so definitely check it out. Truth.
And also, I want to, before we get started, wish my mom a happy birthday.
And you know, Mr. Humphrey got some shout-outs. It's too bad we don't have enough time to get them.
Oh, wow.
Go ahead, David, with your shout-outs tonight.
Hey, here's some shout-outs to everybody that's on our Down at the Crossroads Radio Facebook page. I want to thank everybody that's pushing our bulletins, sending in questions and emails, and also going to the website and signing the guest book. We appreciate it. I appreciate it. Sean appreciates it. Also, all our listeners, if you have any questions, opinions, or you have an idea for a show topic, please email us at www.seansellers.com. Send us a nice little email, and we will work on a show for you. We usually do special shows throughout the year. And if you're in the Montgomery area soon, come out and check out the book signing, February 12th at 7 o'clock. It's going to be a great event. And like Sean said, we got some great events planned. Check out the website. And check out Sean's blogs on WSFA. And I want to send a personal appreciation to them for letting Sean have the opportunity to write and put his blogs and stories out. And another little quick shout out for the book. There's a couple of more people that have wrote in about the book, and the book is really good, so check it out, and you can order it from the website. Thanks.
All right, that's right. I'm really excited about the book and the direction it's going. And everybody out there, all support, we appreciate that. And I want to mention, too, this past weekend, we visited our friends again in Marion, Alabama, did an investigation, spent some time, and had a really, really good time. We've actually blogged about it. We're going to post it on WSFA.com. But I just want to give a shout-out to Rick and all the team and Alex from Pensacola that came up, did the investigation. It was a lot of fun and a really cool place, and we hope to get back there really soon again.
Indeed. We had the delicious steaks.
We did. We had a fantastic restaurant and had a delicious breakfast the next morning.
That's true. I did appreciate that breakfast. And Sean kind of got that all, they have one piece of bacon left. And if either me or Sean had been there, it would have went the same way. But They were about to throw it away, and Sean's like, "No, I'll do it.
Yeah,
I'll eat it.
I took care of it. It was too good to throw away. It was like, what? That's not happening. It's not happening on my watch. We're gonna eat it.
Did she have grits cooked?
She actually
Yes.
cooked. The lady
that sounds
invited us to a restaurant. And it wasn't open and cooked us a special breakfast. It was creamy grits,
Yes.
cheese on eggs,
sounds
toast,
good.
bacon, and patty sausage.
Yes.
Oh wow! It
Southern
was simple
style.
and delicious.
Yes.
Yeah, Southern style and very,
Good
very
times.
good. A great time and a great place. So if you want to go get away, check out the Cedar Ridge Plantation, and if you're in Marion, check out the Artisan Cafe. And there's another restaurant there at night where I've eaten there twice. I've had steaks both times, and they're delicious.
Marion Steakhouse.
Marion Steakhouse.
I knew the name.
Yeah, I knew you would. That's definitely would not let you down. Definitely
It's very
won't.
good.
Yeah. And the cool thing about having all these opportunities to go doing this, we're actually working on another book, and it's plugging right along. We're excited about that. It's not going to be as serious as Chronicles of the Supernaturalist, but I don't guess you can really say that's serious. But it'll definitely have a different tone about it. It's going to be more talking about the ghosts and experiences. It's pretty much just called Tales, Spells, and Hauntings of Central and South Alabama. We might change that, but that's pretty much where we're going right now, and we're covering a little bit of everything, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Is it going to be subtitled or not subtitled, but prefaced like Sean Sellers Tell Spells? And
Yes, I think so.
that'll be awesome.
Yes.
They'll be under the S's.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why I just found that so funny all of a sudden.
It's going to be under the S's, Robin.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of a kid's book. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The title?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But this is going to be a lot lighter than any other things.
Well, I know it is. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
And no, that's what I really want it to be.
Yeah.
I want it fun, and I plan to do several more like this and get away. We're going to get back to. We still got the spiritual book outline we're working on, but
Yeah.
I just really wanted something really kind of light and fun, and I want to do several series of these. We've done investigations all over the South. We're going to do one on that, and we're going to cover more in North Alabama and cover more places in the future. But this is just kind of a lot of the things that's happening right now.
Indeed. And
So-
it'll be fun. I guess we'll kind of let you know when it's about to hit stands, so to
Yes.
speak.
Yes, but hey, in the meantime, check out Chronicles of the Supernaturalist.
Check out the other book.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're actually working on another cool little project. We're actually working on maybe a little video project of the recent werewolf sightings, creature sightings, and so on. We're actually doing a little research in that, working on that, and we're documenting that a little bit. So you never know where that might go as well.
And of course, Hound Dog had the comment that he thinks you should put the Marion Native American Jesus in the book.
Wow.
We got to share this.
It's the best thing ever. She's gone. Go ahead.
We was invited to go to one of the coolest places. We wrote about it in the blog, and it's a folk artist, and he was an extremely eccentric guy, and we're touring Rick's already mentioned it. Michelle's coming out. Please don't tell it. He already mentioned it
Why?
in chat.
Because it made me cry.
It did make Michelle cry, and it was very sad.
She's very embarrassed.
But we was going around the park or his stuff outside, and from the distance, Michelle said, "Look, there's a Native American." And I looked at it, and I was like, that really don't look like a Native, but I didn't say nothing. And she said it again, and I kept looking. I was like, the thorny crowns has thrown me off.
Yeah. And I walked up, and she goes, "Look at that Native American." I was like, "What? Where?" She's pointing at it, and I goes, "That's Jesus."
Oh, wow. It was a picture of Jesus.
And then
painting of Jesus.
what really took it over the top is I think he walked up by Rick, and Rick
Yeah.
said, did she think that Jesus painting was a Native American? And then she lost it. She started crying, got mad at
Wow.
it, and walked away.
Wow, wow, wow.
It's okay. She just walked back off.
Oh, but you know what? That was really, really funny. And the bad thing about it,
It's not that bad.
she's been traveling with us a long time and doing this stuff. She's my wife. She's supposed to, but
and
the
that
point
gets
is,
her?
but we make fun of each other so bad.
Yeah, I mean, Sean's got it just as bad as that.
Yeah, I mean, look at all the things I've done.
Lord knows Hump has.
Yes, I've taken a beating.
She can't say anything, can she?
That's really not bad what
No.
she did, though, guys.
It's not- it's
I don't
just
know why
funny.
she got all upset.
It's just really funny.
You know what? It's probably at a time where y'all needed a little laugh anyway.
It was.
I got it. I laughed. It was funny. If she would have shook it off like she didn't care, it wouldn't have been nothing to it. Just like the day we made
Yeah.
you mad, Hump.
Absolutely.
So if she would have shrugged it off, I don't care.
Yeah.
My bad. It wouldn't have been funny no more. I'm like,
Yeah,
darn,
exactly.
you kind of took it away from us.
Was the "you need to go to church" comment I made? kind of over the top?
Yeah.
Is that bad?
That's bad.
Well,
That's bad.
oh, Beth Ann I feel her pain too. Beth Ann's the one that told her it was Native American.
Wow. That's the blind leading the blind then.
Yeah.
And Beth Ann don't need to say nothing in chat because the guilty just spoke up.
Yeah,
Yes.
that normally happens. You sit back and wait. It'll appear. It'll make it
job, Beth
exciting.
Ann.
Yes, good job. You just reminded me of that. That's what happened.
Wow.
Wow, but you know what? It was definitely a fun time and a really cool experience. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited about everything that we got going on. I'm really blessed, and we'll see what happens. We're gonna stay busy and keep trucking along.
Am I going to have to read the news stories tonight?
Oh, Michelle will be back really soon, so we can jump on these news stories and everything else.
I was wondering. I was like, did that take it too far? Are we in trouble?
She's actually gotten up and walked away.
Yes.
I think she's mad.
Wow. You know
Wow.
what?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
just heard
I guess
rumbling in the kitchen.
there's only one thing to do. I want to invite everybody to check out SeanSellers.com, paranormalresearchers.org, and check us out. You know, we do have a lot of cool things going on, and you know, we got a lot of places. We're getting ready to head. We're working on a lot of investigations. We're going to start doing some outside investigations and looking into some of the things related to what, like we reported a while back, regards to the Loop Guru, the real world sightings, and these creatures. You know, that's not just one type of thing that we actually investigate, but there's something to kind of change the subject I wanted to bring up and talk about. You know, we are kind of new to live jackalope, and we also do a Para X show, and it's basically a taped show that they play. And they had a lady that was that listening and got offended on a lot of our gun views.
At least I think that's what it is. It was during Hump talking, so
Yeah.
he slipped some things past me
Yes.
before. So
So, but I think it's really important to kind of say who we are and what we stand for a little bit.
Yeah.
And basically I know we're a little bit different than most. I know a lot of people don't realize it. Being from the South and Midwest and even out West, it's definitely a big difference. Basically,
Yeah.
I absolutely believe the right to bear arms. I do.
it's hard to be from the South and not feel that way.
It is.
When basically everyone in your family owns a firearm.
Yeah.
And no one shoots themselves.
Yeah, and I believe in God. I believe in state.
Yeah.
Then I believe in country, and I believe to support all of our military. I think they're often forgotten in the midst with them. We owe a lot to them, and everything's going on. And I take a lot of that serious. Also, when I have a firm freedom in religion. I think we all have the right to choose. I think God gives us that ability to search out and explore, and we have to lay our own foundation. But it all begins with our foundation in God. And I know that we're kind of hard to take sometimes, and a little bit different. But the biggest thing is just don't take us too serious. Just know a lot of things we say we mean it comes from the heart.
And once you stop questioning, that's when you're stagnant.
Yes,
And stagnation's never good.
exactly. Michelle, are you ready to do some news stories?
Are you good to go? I'll turn your mic on. Now, and then just smack the heck out of it.
I didn't mean to.
Like, that's what you get. Take that.
All right. First story is a monk arrested for sneaking a nun's skeleton into the airport. Why would a monk be sneaking the skeleton of a nun through an airport? A 56-year-old monk admitted to authorities at the Athens airport that he was taking the nun's skeleton to a monastery. The airport security staff had found the nun's skull wrapped in a sheet within the monk's bag. A Greek police official explained they maintained it was a woman who was a saint. They tried to explain to him that you still can't travel with a saint's skull through security. But it's kind of creepy to carry it around, actually. The monk explained that the skeleton was that of a sainted nun who had died 4 years ago. However, after researching the bizarre event, it had been determined that the nun was actually not a saint at all. She was just a nun.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
Guys, is that the same monk that was supposed to be playing at UAB?
The Tibetan monks.
The
Tibetan monks.
Wow.
Wow.
No, I hope not.
Yeah.
But that is kind of odd.
Wow.
How do you catch that? I mean, does the guy open the case and go okay, what the, okay, and then he just unwraps the thing and there's a skull and he goes, well, yeah, I think I'm going to have to hold you.
You would think he would just mail it and then get on the plane and arrive there if that's the case, or something like
Well,
that.
I guess monks aren't really good at that stuff.
Yeah, I
what I
guess
mean?
not. Yeah.
I don't
But
know.
why? Why would you smuggle?
A skull
Yeah.
or part of a skeleton.
That's just, he's got to be off the rocker.
Wasn't there a quote or something, Michelle, from somebody saying, from one of the people in the archdiocese saying, what?
Yeah, there was an archbishop had said, "It appears to be the work of charlatans with a financial interest. That is what I suspect." And apparently the church did suspend the monk from all his duties for 3 months.
3 months.
For 3 months.
That's what you get.
3 months. I'd send him packing.
Isn't that kind of like, okay, all your duties, isn't that kind of like a vacation for a monk? Don't they have to like work a lot?
Yeah, I guess.
I'm probably being very ignorant here, but
Yeah.
come on.
Wow. So now who punished him?
Who was it? The archbishop?
Yeah,
The Archbishop.
the
Wow.
church. Yeah,
The
and
church.
actually he wasn't punished that for traveling with the skull. He was punished for going away without leave.
So he broke on out of that monastery
wow.
with a skull in his briefcase.
So he was trying to make it a holy relic.
So is he like a friend
Yes.
to Indiana Jones or
That's
something?
what it sounds like.
What's going on here?
There's a lot of money in holy relics.
All right, moving on. North America's oldest Asian elephant, Taj, dies at California theme park at age 71. Six Flags Discovery Kingdom on Tuesday announced the death of Taj, who had lived at the Vallejo Park for 33 years. The elephant was one of Discovery Kingdom's most popular attractions. Her tricks included stacking logs and playing tug-of-war with guests. The park retired her 3 years ago. Also, she could also paint a canvas with a brush. It doesn't say that in here, but it's true.
Wow.
Oh wow! When Michelle was talking about she was going to read that story, Jake said, "Well, how are we going to discuss it?" I just thought it was a cool story. I thought it was really interesting just due to the fact that I didn't know it. It's one of those things that I just absolutely don't know it, and it's really interesting.
That elephant was old.
Yeah, lived a long, long time.
So it's probably well taken care of.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what's horrible is its activities sound a lot like my brother's.
Yeah.
Stacking logs and playing tug of war.
Yeah.
And painting.
Painting.
Coloring.
That's almost as out there. Have you heard that, what is in Japan or somewhere, they're getting ready to try to clone a woolly mammoth?
What?
Yes, you hadn't
Wow.
heard that? They're actually going to try to clone a what is it called, a woolly mammoth?
Yes, the woolly
I
mammoth.
don't know if
mammoth,
they're actually
correct.
going to try to clone one.
Yes.
Have these people not seen Jurassic?
Yeah, that's what I was
I mean-
immediately thinking of.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park. Really?
I actually didn't know much about it, and then they actually found it. I don't know. I'm far from understanding it or anything like that, but I guess the sheep that they cloned or so on.
Dolly.
That the things that's been cloned has been unable to produce. I guess semen unable to be able to I guess have a
Reproduce.
kid or reproduce
Mhm,
exactly. But I don't know how they're going to do the woolly mammoth. It's not going to be perfect because I think they're going to have to use an elephant or something. But the gene, but check it out. I thought I know I'm just kind of added that in there, but I just thought about it once I heard the story of this and what they're trying to do.
Indeed.
Definitely.
All right. The next story, shockingly high benzene levels found in Biloxi, Mississippi blood samples, including a 10-year-old child. Whole blood samples were collected from 12 individuals between the ages of 10 and 66 on September 13th and 27, 2010, and also again in November and December. The individuals consisted of 10 and 11-year-old males, 4 adult males, and 6 adult females. The individuals were cleanup workers on Orange Beach, Alabama. Apparently, they analyzed the blood samples for volatile solvents, and they found high levels of benzene.
What do you think about that?
Biloxi, wasn't that part of the thing part of the area that was messed up with Hurricane Katrina?
Yeah, but it also has to do with the oil. And the
Yeah,
dispersants with the oil is what they're saying.
That's
That's what they're actually saying. So,
Okay.
so that kind of makes you wonder. We've talked about that a long time on this show about the oil spill and how it's going to be years to come, and it sure is quiet right now. But where did it go? What happened to all this stuff? I think there's a lot of things that's happening out there that's weird.
Is this now where it's coming up from all the chemicals that they didn't they try to put the chemicals on it to push it down? Do you think maybe it's washing up under, I guess, the water line?
Well, it seems like it's the benzene chemical would have more to do with the solvent they use than the oil itself.
So the chemicals that they used now is been washed up and got in the water.
Yeah, I mean, if you looked at some of the reports they were doing, it was. I think Michelle can comment on this, but it was shown to basically corrode your organs.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, it had to be inhaled. And inhaled of elevated levels of benzene for long periods of time may damage the tissues that form blood cells, especially the bone marrow. Anemia, excessive bleeding, and leukemia can result from the exposure.
So it's not something you want to take lightly, really.
Wow. No.
That's sad.
And these are 10 and 11-year-olds.
So there's no telling how it's going to affect them later in life.
Right.
It kind of makes you wonder what you've heard. A lot of people have talked about having the people's going to have to move away from the coast.
Yeah.
And these things slowly start to show up. You never know. I don't think it's over, but ain't nothing. We just got to sit back and watch. This next story Michelle's going to talk about is going to kind of tie into it, I think, a little bit.
Hundreds of dead seals washing ashore in northeast Canada. People on the north coast of Labrador say scores of dead seals have been washing ashore since early December. Conservation officer with the area's government established late last week that hundreds of adult and young seals have died in the area between Hopedale and Makavik this winter. The Department of Fisheries and Oceans is testing the carcasses. The conservation officer said many people in the area believe they haven't acted quickly enough.
Well, you know what's striking to me about this is that recently, again, right after that, there's hundreds and hundreds of octopus. I guess octopuses washing up on shore in South America. You know,
Octopi.
Octopi.
Well, if you think about what's happening with the birds, the fish, these seals, and all this other stuff, that means that there's absolutely something going on. What it is, I don't know, but it's something. There's something out there. Could it be all tied in with the oil spill? Could it be tied into something else that we just don't know about? You know, Whitley Strieber's talked about a lot of different things, kind of regards to this, and I don't know. I mean, but it's definitely something that's making you take notice. Almost seems like every week there's something new.
I think the best thing to take away from it is to be aware. Be aware it's happening. Be looking for it. Be looking for warnings.
Yeah.
Keep your mind open to it and see what's going to happen. I don't think right now is any time to start interpreting it, but I think you should see something soon.
Yeah. As you know, I just had some breaking news on my phone. It says, Marion, Alabama, lady mistakes Jesus painted for Native American.
Wow. Bum, 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 bum. Breaking news, guys.
Would you like to comment on that? No. She's just going to shake her head. Not even going to talk over the mic.
Wow, she's mad.
She's going to walk over during break and slap the pee out of you.
Oh, yeah, she's not happy. But it's still funny. You know, sometimes you got to weigh,
It's
good
okay.
laughter or, a little bit of madness. I think laughter is healthy for the body.
I don't know why she's so mad about it.
I'm not quite sure it'd be healthy for your body.
Yes, I agree with Pam. I think it's more of a question of you being healthy.
Yeah, you know what? You know what's so bad? I've had one of those trying days. And it just can kind of make me be devilish sometimes. Well, I just need to laugh at the expense of others. But it has to do with people I love and kind of understand it,
A lot like that lady, if anyone was watching American Idol earlier, and they played that quick clip of the lady tumbling down the stairs in New Jersey.
Wow.
And Sean just burst out laughing. Okay, first she falls, but it's just the afterwards is what sells it.
Well, what sold it was the lady fell down the steps, and she was so embarrassed. She actually she was hurt, and she started trying to crawl away.
And she couldn't do it. It just wasn't going to happen
She's
for her.
hurt, yeah.
And she had the angriest look on her face.
And pain look.
It was bad times for that poor lady.
Yes. Definitely. One of the things that's kind of interesting, too, I guess, to get a little bit on the paranormal side and stuff, it's a full moon tonight. And there's a lot of different things to talk about with the full moon. I guess that one of the reports we had of the creature was actually during a full moon. And there's a lot of things that goes on, a lot of questions, a lot of theories. And I know a lot of the beliefs with regards to the Wiccan beliefs that the moon's a very powerful night. And we talked about it earlier. It'd be really cool to get a Wiccan's opinion on this. So I thought we'd call somebody that practices that would give us a good answer on this and tell us what they think about it. So, Jake, you want to try to make that call?
Yeah, Michelle's working on it now.
Okay, good. Because I really would like to see what, a lot of the ideas and some of the things that the full moon does. I know it's a good night to do work because it's just, it gives you a good pull. It's a good time for paranormal activity as well. So, Michelle, you going to let us know if you're making the call?
We got it?
My phone keeps ringing. Hello? Hello, Michelle. Wow.
We got you, David.
Gotcha.
We was hoping his phone would go to voicemail.
Yeah, that would have been
I will,
ideal.
you know, I will tell you this. Let me talk to you about the moon for a second, real quick. Wow, Sean. It's funny you mentioned that because
I know. That's why I did
I'm
it.
charging my stones.
I know you are.
Okay.
I know you are. I know you. That's why I wanted to call a witch that I know. So we
Thank
thought
you.
we'd give you a
Thank
call.
you. I flew over here on my Harley broom. But you know, all jokes aside, about the research we're doing on this case and these few cases, the full moon and the moon phases have played a big part of the 4 reports that we've gotten in the past 6 months.
They have.
Yep.
And you know what? The full moon tonight is where you can charge yourself and get you some, that extra energy. And it does. It plays a lot with a lot of different things, from a religion to your personal beliefs. And I really do, Sean, I think by this weekend we're going to have some more reports of things going on the story that you have wrote.
But there's definitely some high strangeness
Yes.
going on in this area, and it kind of makes you wonder a little bit. So we're definitely looking into it, see what we could find. But I just wanted to kind of give you a hard time, David. David, you should have
You've
known.
done this to me all day. I've taken a whooping. But that was funny because I was like, I wonder who he's got on the air coming.
It's so much better when you buy into it.
Yeah.
So you can have a laugh with that.
Yeah, I was like, and my phone's ringing. I'm going, I think I turned my phone off. Oh, it's Michelle. And I'm like, oh.
and then it sinks
Oh,
in.
yeah.
I wish y'all could see that's actually listening to the show, because
Wow.
I looked over at Humpy. He had this look on his face like, yeah, you got me. You got me. And he couldn't figure out how to play it off or what to do.
I tried. Believe me, people, I tried.
It was a good one.
That was a good one. That was a funny.
It's
Yeah.
okay, David. Me and you will get
But
Sean.
but you know what? And he's right. The cases and some of the reports that we've had coming in have all been associated with the full moon phases.
Well, it's actually proven even in law enforcement that
Yes.
that full moon, there's a lot of craziness, a lot of things. that goes
Nursing,
on.
Sean, the hospitals, the ERs, and then just in general.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like today I had really not a good day at work.
Yeah.
I think we all had that stressful, weird day, and it's the full moon. But I'm trying to collect my energy back, and get it all lined up.
Just to say, Beth Ann was waiting for her phone to ring.
Oh, wah, wah, wah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Wow, wow. I gotta get that sound effect so
We
we
have
don't have to
matching
keep doing
brooms.
it. Wow.
Good times. I didn't even think about Beth Ann. We should have.
We really should have.
But see, Beth Ann, it's not funny because she don't get offended by it and get mad and try to hide it. And when David does, we can really laugh about it.
Yes, we really can.
Yes, what are you talking about? Really? Me?
Does the rest of your coven listen to this show?
Yes, I have a whole coven now that listens to the show.
They should
But we
call
all
it-
practice.
They play solitaire, but they're all dancing around. They're all dancing around now and putting spells on us.
Yes. I want a cheeseburger.
If they'd like to call in, the number is 334-649-7734.
I'll get you, my pretties.
Send me a cheeseburger.
And we're not making fun of all Wiccans, just David.
But this oh, David.
I can't win.
Poor David. It's okay, man. Just laugh with it.
Well, all right, let's go back to something on a serious note a little bit. We kind of talk about it. It made national news. Our governor-elect made the comment. I know it's not on our list to talk about it. Made a comment about, if you're not Christian, you're not his brother
Or sister.
or sister. Mm-hmm. But to me, he actually kind of referred we would fall into that pot too with us doing this type of work. Mm-hmm. That means we're not his brother and sister either, if you really think about it.
But you know what? It's like, I think Pam wanted to hit me a while ago.
I did.
I know. Here's the thing, though.
He'll put a spell on you.
We have freedom of speech in America. It didn't bother me. I thought it was very gutsy for him to get up there and say that. Really don't bother me. It don't affect me. But I think he has the right to say what he wants to, and I don't think a lot of people did get offended about it.
Yeah.
Just like the gun laws, we have the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, and the right to protect your home and your loved ones. The laws fixing to change, that does offend me a little bit due to the fact that I have that Second Amendment right, just like the freedom of speech. And you're right, though our belief, my personal belief, it could have really offended me from what he said.
I'm honestly, I wouldn't even minded if he would have said, instead of a Christian, if he would have said, if you're not a Buddhist, then you're not my brother or sister. I was just so refreshed that a politician actually would say something like that.
That's kind of the way I come from. I didn't feel like he was referring to me, but at the same time, you want to hear people kind of speak their own mind and be honest about it.
I'm like, he's obviously not lying.
Yeah.
I'm proud of him.
But why I wanted to bring this up, there was something that came around today, I think. Michelle, correct me. Didn't you send a text or something about what Chip Coffey posted about everybody not getting along in this field?
Yes.
I mean, you think about it. Nobody, they don't. Who is it that actually don't get along in it? Everybody. I mean, think about it. What's the reason they don't get along? We don't get along with some that says, I'm a scientific style ghost hunter. Other one says, well, I'm a spiritualist. One that says, I'm a witch, David. Another one. But no, really, well, what is the big deal? Because nobody's getting along and nobody taking anybody. Well, what's going on with that?
I want to say this. I believe the people that are having these issues and problems, Sean, and that are having the problems with the bickering and stuff, I believe it goes back to somebody trying to be famous. I mean, that's my belief in it, Sean, that the people that are having these quarrels and just are really roughing the feathers are the TV paranormal groups and their cliques.
But the point, everybody's got their feathers rustled from what our governor said. Everybody's mad. So you know what the problem? You got to get to a point and say, who cares? I'm not mad. No. Leave me alone.
I'm not mad. I'm proud he said it. Yeah, I'm proud that he had the presence of self to say it.
It's just the same thing in this field with everybody not getting along. I mean, don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. Do your own thing. And if they got a problem with you, say, okay, well, just meet me on the back street and we'll settle it like men because I'm a man. And do it that way. I mean, I'm tired of all these people. They want to talk about you and say, okay, well, let me just call you on it. If you don't like me, come on, let's get this over with. And you know what? I can still classify myself as a Christian, but I'm tired of everybody being so mean to everybody and so judgmental when your own ship is fixing to sink. And that's just the point we're all in as American people, as a state, and in this field. You hear people say paranormal unity. Why? What's the point? It comes down to what you want out of this and where you want to go.
But here's the thing, though. It goes back to what we've been talking about here and there for the past year. If you were doing this research and you're out there on your spiritual journey and you're trying to help people, do you really have time to bicker if you're doing the right work, Sean?
Well, I actually thought about that when Michelle sent that text, and I want to get Jake's opinion. And I really mean this. I don't mean to offend anybody. I don't want to be in the club. I don't.
No,
I just don't want to be in it. I really have a lot of people in this field I respect. There's some people I don't, but I would never say it publicly. And but they're not sweating me. They're doing their own thing, and we're doing ours. But it comes from what do you want out of this? We're all in this field for a reason. We're all looking for something, and we've got to find some type of common ground of what we're doing in this. If it comes down to religious, our church, a lot of people in this field, our churches done turned their backs on us because of what we're doing. So you're really pretty much on your own in this journey, and it comes down to the point that you have to take it a certain way and don't belittle yourself or any of us in this field by open arguments. And I think that's just the silliest thing in the world.
Mm-hmm. I think that a lot of it stems from, unfortunately, this type of thing that we do attracts a lot of insecure people that have questions that aren't being answered by the normal means like church or society or social relationships. They're not having that happen, so they go in here, and unfortunately, until they get better, a lot of their insecurities come with them, and with that comes that kind of behavior. And until they're better as a person, it's just going to continue, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's no amount of Facebook groups you can populate with Unity for Paranormal that can make a difference. It's unfortunately just part of the growing pains as a person is learning why that's wrong and why that behavior is wrong.
Yeah, you're right. But I just wanted to I know we kind of took it off in a different direction, but I just kind of wanted to address that a little bit because that's something I've been hearing a long time, and it's just not going to happen. But to me, in my eyes, and maybe it's just me personally, I think the whole ghost hunting thing is really fading out, and it's coming down to a point where it's pretty much a spiritual journey. We're in this. We're all learning together. We're all growing together, and we're helping people along the way. But we're finding out answers too. And what we originally got into, it's not the same field. It's not the same things we're investigating. It's all changed. And if you can honestly tell me you're investigating, encountering the same stuff you did when you first got into it, you're doing something wrong because it's changed. It's absolutely changed. It's not the same out there.
I'm really kind of wondering what we're going to find at Sloss in March.
Yeah.
What you think? I mean, do you think it's going to be the same old, same old?
I don't. I really don't. I don't know what to expect. I'm kind of excited about it. But, I've kind of wrote about that some, Jake. You can tell because you've been seeing a lot of the stuff I've been sending to you. My whole thing about investigating, I'm really enjoying it again. But I'm not enjoying doing the whole documenting, filming, all that. I'm enjoying the experience again. The experience of being with your friends, experience being in the place, and having the ability to experience what everybody else has experienced, and then using your abilities to see what's there and see what you can find. You're not over complicating it. You're actually just doing what you do. And when it comes down to working private cases, it's still the same way, the right way to help somebody. And I've really enjoyed doing the work again. And I almost had a fire. Like, remember when I first got involved in this, I love writing these stories about what we have, and I actually got that feeling again. And it's fun.
I believe that for a while there, it seemed like we got by we, I mean we as a field, or we as a group of interest would actually be a better description. The paranormal community as a whole got away from the fact that what made these stories interesting and compelling and touching was the human element involved.
Yeah.
We decided that we needed sterilized scientific methods of inquiry, which unfortunately weren't followed very well, because you can't make these stories, these experiences don't fit into a lab. They fit into a journal. They fit basically as we are reporters of stories. We aren't the majority of us scientists who go into an area to study its effects upon human experience. We're not doing that. We're chronicling a story more than we are anything as a whole. I mean, when you put up what makes a good case report to you? Is it just the evidence, or don't you have to have a story behind it to fit the evidence into, to make the evidence count and to make the evidence something you care about?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. That's what it's all about. The hardest thing too is trying to teach new investigators about that. It's anybody that really wants to get involved again. They want to jump up and be exactly what they want to see on TV, where it's a technical investigator or whether it's one of the good psychics like Chip and all them. But it's a whole new feeling. And I have actually changed a lot of my beliefs in and the responsibility. I've been one of the big ones about preaching responsibility, and I've seen a lot of a lot of investigators go by the wayside by not taking this field seriously about the repercussions of what you encounter, because what it does to you. And I went to a point for the longest time, because I pretty much let the field turn me to, I guess, so cynical that I pretty much said, all right, you're not responsible enough to protect yourself, enjoy. Yes. And now I've got to the point where I'm changing that, because I feel the responsibility. I preach it. One thing preaching it, you've got to walk it completely, and it comes down to teaching it. And if you bring a team in, you expect them to know that more and more than ever. And to be honest, I'm tired of seeing a lot of my investigators that I'm friends with let this field affect them in ways that they're never the same again, because you're not. Because it's when you encounter certain things, it changes you. If you encounter darker things, it kills a piece of you. And what's out there, who knows? What's going on is a lot darker than this. There's so much happening right now, it's overwhelming. And you have to be pretty much prepared. And I hate to tell you, you have to be a student of this field.
All the time, though.
Yeah.
It's like it's a learning process all the time.
It's a lifestyle. It's not a
Yes.
hobby.
No.
I mean, eventually it starts as a hobby, but becomes a lifestyle. It has to.
It becomes a way. You have to make it your way of life. You have to practice spiritual maintenance. You have to learn to recognize your demons, your weaknesses. You have to build and work on every aspect of your body, mind, and soul, and keep your soul as clean as can be. And it's a lot of ways to do it, and you have to do it in this field because you're constantly attacked. And once you get idle, that's when you really get overwhelmed. And you have to be prepared and have to be aware what's there because me and Jake had an encounter even as strangely as this past weekend. As much as we was enjoying it, something reminded us instantly about how we're always being watched by something from the other side because once you've encountered it.
And I think it really makes you kind of question things because oftentimes, it messes me up because I know what I'm feeling at the moment, but afterwards I question and I'm like, I think Sean did too. Am I just feeding off him? What's going on? Why did I perceive it this way? But it happens so many times, it can't be coincidence.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it always seems to only be me and you.
Yeah.
There's people other times sometimes, but we send a team in after, it's nothing.
Nothing.
Alex was there, Alex, nothing.
But you know what, Jake? I honestly believe this. We have worked in this field, you and I, long enough, and we've both improved spiritually in a lot of the things we do. A lot of the worldly barriers that's built up naturally, even with my lifestyle, that you still have them. They're starting to be taken away with us, and they're starting to be taken away with a lot of people right now, and they're seeing things as they are, not as they should be. And as they are is a lot more terrifying than as they should be. Because you're seeing a little bit deeper. And that ties into with the veil thinning as well, in my beliefs. I think it all kind of ties together because it's transformation and what's actually going on out there. And I think that it comes down to really you have to question your sanity. You do. You have to check things 3 times. You have to use that discernment because God, if you have a gift, you're going to have to use it because you got it. That discern everything, question everything, instead of just take something and receive it. But there's a lot of people out there that's automatically starting to see without that fake wall in front of them.
To kind of sum up what we were talking about is Sean and I were back in the woods in Marion and
with Alex
and Beth Ann.
Yeah.
And we started getting kind of creepy for some reason we kind of kept going further back in the woods, and the woods kind of freaked me out anyway at night, whatever reason. We came in contact. I'm sorry if it's vague, but something came in contact with something. It wasn't, I just can't say it was good. Very old. Don't know what it was. Don't know why it was there and why we saw it. But I know that I can always tell when Sean's kind of that way because he'll say, "Oh, there just went an angry spirit." And I'll look at Sean and go, "Really?" And he'll go, "Don't make me say it."
Yeah.
And that's kind of the relationship we built up, I guess, between us as far as that goes. I'm sorry if it's vague, but it's just really hard to put into words.
I can tell you, it's really hard to. I can tell you that while we was there, the feeling started to change, and then we got to a road, like the middle of the woods, and I could actually feel that it was absolutely threatened and endangered. And we went back off the road on the other side, and we stood there, and it just no, I don't know what it was. It's something I can tell you. Is it a ghost? No, it wasn't a ghost. Is it a demon? It's one of those things that I've said so many times. I wouldn't call it a demon, but it's definitely something dimensional, and it's definitely something that maybe just didn't have the best interest in hands. And I really don't know what it was. And one of the things that finally got me is that I could feel it and actually see it. I guess I hate not to sound cheesy, psychically cross back and forth that road. And what got me really good, and I know it got Jake, because see, I think you've seen it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is actually as it was going back and forth, it crossed into our plane, and you got a glance of the wing.
Well, I never perceive things visually. Mine is always complete feeling. I just don't. I never see it when you see it. That's just me for some reason. But yeah, felt it. Absolutely. I mean, no question there. It shook me up a bit. And that's another thing that I couldn't ignore is I immediately start self-analyzing myself when this happens. And I'll say, well, am I making this up in my head? Is this me? Is this something else? And I was shaken by it, so I couldn't ignore that. Something had triggered that response in me. And my gut feeling it, it's not like it's an evil demon. It's not something that simple.
No, it's not. And, it's one of those things that kind of shook us inside. And I think it shook Beth Ann and Alex a little bit because we actually started checking our watches because we thought we actually had some lost time. We was confused. Whatever happened, time almost stood still. We've talked about that before. We wrote about it in the book where you have certain instances where things kind of seem like time stands still. That happened. Everything kind of stopped. And what was around you really wasn't happening anymore. You was there in this moment. That's kind of what we was going through and what happened there. And it has nothing to do related to the place. I don't know what it was. I think it was definitely just marked toward us.
And the best way I can term it, the phrase that pops in my head is basically an old god. A god with a little g. Yeah. Because that's what it... I mean, if I'm going to term it something, that's what I'd say.
Yeah. And, here we go. This is going to challenge cheesy and dorky as well. Certain of these entities you can attack. You can kind of deal with them in certain ways. And this is the one that you couldn't because you couldn't get to it. You couldn't catch it.
Oh, no. It was just... That's how it was. There wasn't nothing...
Yeah.
It was too quick for you to really do anything with it anyway. It was what it was before you could do anything about it.
And it's not our first encounter, but I think if we had this encounter 100 times, it'll shake you the same each time.
Oh, yeah, there's no defense against it. There's no I'm Mike Burnett. No desensitization. Yeah. I'm so sorry for everyone that loves proper English.
That's fine.
Which I don't guess you really do if you turn into this show, but...
Hey, it's us.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's about time. Shouldn't our caller be calling in for the wrestling event coming up? Not this weekend, but next week. Well,
I hate to say
the rock and wrestling.
I agree with you, but I got nothing, man.
Well, all right. Well, hey, we'll go ahead and mark it down. This Saturday, next Saturday, it's the rock and wrestling in Prattville, Alabama, at the Armory. We will be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's a big opportunity for us. It's going to be kids and a lot of people there, so it should be good.
And we just had the doorbell ring, and everyone's kind of freaked out.
Yeah.
What's going on? Because we just had that talking and the doorbell rings.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm kind of expecting Cthulhu to step by and be like, "What's up, dude? I'm here for your bonds." But
I'm going to step over and see.
Okay. And just knock the crap out of your mic, David. And give me a play-by-play here. Basically, they're just checking out the door right now to see what's going on. What's going on, Michelle?
Pam has to move her car.
Someone's... I see. Someone has parked illegally outside and needs to move their car.
Now, that's good times, guys. That is good times.
Yes. Wowzers.
Wowzers, what a night. We got a lot going on.
Hey,
I want to take this opportunity to let everybody know that's listening to check out the webpage.
Yes.
www.seansellers.com. Got any comments, feedback, emails? If you have a suggestion for a show that we will do live on Jackalope FM 105, email us. Also, Facebook, Down at the Crossroads Radio. Also, check out our personal pages. And please, thank you for everybody that adds more friends to the Facebook. And also, thank you for everybody that copies and pastes the radio show information for Jackalope. We appreciate it. Sean appreciates it. And also, don't forget the book out.
We'll appreciate you to park your car correctly when you come visit.
Hey, it's a live show, so you never know what you get with us.
That's right. Ding dong, ding dong.
Good thing is, it's getting we got about 4 minutes till break right now. Our excellent guest next hour, which I need to talk about a little bit, Mr. Russ Dizdar, which I should probably be calling him pastor.
Yeah.
Or minister. I'm not quite sure. I'll get him to get me so I can have the nomenclature correct. But I've already been talking with him. He's raring to go. We're going to have a good hour about Satanic Ritual Abuse and the Rise of the Satanic Super Soldiers, which it should be an entertaining show, which anyone that's ever listened to our show when we go into this topic knows. We always do good stuff.
Exactly.
So it might be a little scary. I've heard him before. He's not, if I'm remembering correctly, he's not a person that's saying, well, based on what this dude said, he's seen it for himself.
Yeah.
He's talked with people, and we're going to explore that.
You know, one thing about him too, Jake, that I found out, he has a law enforcement background.
Yes.
He studied the occult and law enforcement. And if I'm not mistaken, he has advanced training in the occult and occult crimes for a law enforcement officer.
Right.
So he's the real deal, you know. So I can't wait to have him on the show. It's something that's real, something virgin, something that's going on, and definitely something that should be discussed. So I'm really looking forward to covering that on our show tonight.
Absolutely. You know, I see Hump's been reading the bio.
Yeah, I did
Good
some
times.
research.
Yeah,
on it.
it's an awesome bio. I'm not making fun of you.
No.
I mean, wow, it sounded like I was, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. You know what? I'm very blessed to have him on the show. It's going to be a great guest.
No, it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be a good show. A really good show.
I think it's been a good first hour. You know, they want us to cover some paranormal a little bit more. You know, so I hope we
cover a
did.
little paranormal a little
We're
bit
gonna
more.
cover. You know, we cover a little bit of everything on this show, from government conspiracies to politics, you name it, to
To
paranormal, supernatural, crypto. We talk about it.
The Second Amendment every show.
Yes.
That's right. I'm a member of the NRA, and I'm proud
The
of it.
only thing we know that Jake Bell is not going to talk about is going to be the Bigfoot stories.
The Bigfoot.
He'll fall asleep.
You know, I was doing the trivia question. Did you? I don't know if anyone else. I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. Is that one of the trivia questions? I'm just going to bring it up to you guys. You see if I know what I'm talking about. Michelle, I'm turning your mic on. There's a particular subject that you will refuse to talk about when I'm on the show, because I always make stupid jokes that no one gets about it every single time you bring it up. Do you know what it is?
Is it the Bigfoot?
No, because you get that joke.
What is it?
Planet X.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Is that for sure? Because you've brought it up twice. I've made dumb King Ghidorah Godzilla jokes twice. I've never heard about it again.
I just let it go. Some things are best let alone. That's that.
I just thought it was funny. I'm sorry. It's one of those things I can't help. Like when someone says Kenny Rogers and you can't help but sing The Gambler.
Yeah. I know you think about my Kenny Rogers suit.
Kenny Rogers suit.
You know,
That's
you want
awesome.
me to wear it to Atlanta?
Yes.
I should wear my Kenny Rogers suit to Atlanta.
Smoking hot.
You'll see.
And speaking of that, come join us in Atlanta on the 28th of January. And with that, we go to break.
Break time.
Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm excited. Always excited.
I'm excited. We have a fantastic second hour guest tonight. Russ Dizdar is an ordained minister with experiences with satanic ritual abuse and satanic super soldiers, which he describes in detail in his book, The Black Awakening. Russ came to Christ in September of 1975 after years of experimenting with the darker side of occultism and Golden Buddha meditation. Since 1978, he has served as senior pastor of 4 churches, including the Cathedral in Akron, Ohio, where over 20,000 visited in a 2-year period. He has also served as a director of Greater Akron Youth for Christ as a police chaplain in Unit 78 UAPD. Russ has studied at Cumberland College's Biblical Studies program, the University of Akron's Criminology and Military Science programs, spent 2.5 years at Moody Bible School, and in 1984 graduated from Malone College with a BA in Religion and Philosophy with advanced studies in theology, apologetics, and Greek. He is currently pursuing a master's degree in apologetics, New Testament Greek vocabulary, and New Testament manuscripts and systematic theology. In addition to his theological training, Russ has studied at the Emerge Counseling Center, Ohio Peace Officers Training Academy, UAPD Police Training, and DEF-TEC Law Enforcement Training in Advanced Occult and Cult Crimes. In 1982, Russ founded Shatter the Darkness and Preemption Broadcast, which allowed him to preach in a variety of churches, hold training seminars, and evangelize the gospel of Jesus Christ. Tonight, we have him on the show to discuss the experiences with satanic ritual abuse and the rise of the satanic super soldier. How are you tonight, Mr. Dizdar?
Hey, we're doing really great, and great to be with you. Appreciate it.
Oh, yes, sir. Anytime, anytime. And I guess we need to start at the beginning, I guess, with the subject matter for tonight. What made you turn away from the occult practices you were getting into?
For me, back in those days, and that was the end of the 60s, beginning of the 70s, I wasn't raised in church, so I had no background with anything, really. I just got into things deeper and deeper. And on the one side, we were in martial arts, but we were in a system where we were being trained by a master how to connect with ascended masters, how to let them come into your body. On the other hand, we were conjuring spirits, trying to find ways to, I guess, in those days, gain power, things like that. It was really just anything we could get our hands on. There was also a real deep, attempt to, see what we can find out with drugs and, kind of things people are doing now with ayahuasca down in the Mayan temples and stuff like that. So we were really committed to supernatural things and in contact. Though I had a belief in God, I had no knowledge. I had nothing. It wasn't until this guy showed up at the very place that we did some of this stuff and just unleashed the gospel. I heard about Christ for the first time clearly, and I knew powers. I knew all kinds of powers and presence and experiences, but this I never felt, and it just blew me out of the waters. And that's the night that I just received Christ. I just turned to Jesus and asked him to come into my life, fill me with this power. That was in 1975. And never turned back since then, and have just walked with the Lord since then, and as he's led into all this stuff that we're into now.
It seems you kind of went a bit full circle, but from a different perspective. You eventually made your way back into the occult practices, but not for the reasons you did initially. Can you? Yeah.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, I think it's because of, because I know what it is. I know what it is to feel them, to engage, to hear them, to, we had some really crazy experiences, I'd be glad to talk about them, but those are things I experienced. Now, I wasn't into satanic deep rituals back in those days. We never got there. We never had anybody lead us. I mean, I would have probably done it, but we had no one take us in that far. But being on the other side of the fence, we just began to engage more and more. And I think part of the issue is the ramping up of this side since the 70s. It is off the scales now. It's off the charts.
And I've definitely seen that in our work. In what we do, it seems to be that there's only a thin veil of cover of this stuff. And when you start getting into these paranormal experiences and start going down that path, it's not long until you start discovering traces of this. Now, you've been in it, I think, probably much deeper than we have. What got you, I guess, on the radar of this sort of stuff?
I think when we got into dealing with individuals that began to come to us, and, they say we hear voices in our head. There's a lot of weird acting out issues. And so we began to, what I did back in the early 80s was when I was in Youth for Christ, I targeted, and our team did, we formed a little group. We called it Shatter the Darkness. And so we targeted any young kids that were into satanic practices. But as we targeted them to minister to them, then that led us to their materials and books they're reading, to practices they were going to the adults, and that got us into the engagement with covens, and we engaged our first ritually abused people. We engaged coven members coming after us, and from there, it just has never, we determined to be completely, at one point, we didn't, it was like, this was really off the map kind of stuff. Because it involved crime, it involved demonic spirits, it involved people being very, very, very hurt. The satanic ritual side started when we had a little girl in a psych ward that was programmed to burn herself in a ritual for her mother. Her mother was called a mother of darkness in the ancient brotherhood. And this got us into engagement with covens, conjuring spirits, showing up, marking us, death threats, and then it's just gone on from there. I mean, just 28 years now of engagement. This week we'll have more engagement. And I'm just saying, more than anything, it has ramped up. There's more of it. The numbers are off the scales, and I think that's why everybody I think knows something ominous is in the air.
You know, I'll tell you, and I know that it's not the best example, but if you've seen the movie The Last Exorcism, whenever I think of this subject, that for some reason the imagery in that movie and the theme of that movie hits home. You have a lot of people that start off very asleep, I think, in their beliefs, and once you experience something that's undeniably like a satanic ritual abuse, something that's undeniably dark and something that's undeniably evil, you either go two ways. You either know that you have to shape up and get things going in your own life, or you just spiral down. Has that been your experience?
I think it has, and I think that's. I think that there is still a lot of disbelief about the issue because it's so underground, and I think because we decided we would go underground, counter-infiltrate, hunt down covens, dig up bones, whatever we needed to do along the way, we decided we would go all the way with this because back in the the mid-'80s, when we first started having satanic ritually abused people and the multiplicity issues and all that, we were hearing stories that were so far off the charts. We determined back then we're going to form a team. We're not going to tell the victims. We're not going to tell anybody. But what we're going to do is we're going to run surveillance. We're going to go out and investigate. We're going to go out and track. We're going to take every piece of information of places, names of people, locations, and we've done that for over 25 years and thousands of hours in the middle of the night, all over the places, probably 60 cities. And what we find there, law enforcement finds it in this sense, reactive. But when you're when you're actually going out there to hunt it down, run surveillance, do it all, it is unbelievable what we have found. And, the subject matter of satanic ritual abuse, let me just throw one thing out that'll probably bring, again, I think it'll shock some people and they'll want evidence of this. But in the 80s, there was thousands of them coming in to psych wards, counseling centers, and so forth. By 1994, it was 2.4 million. World-renowned psychiatrist Colin Ross, who also wrote a book on this, it's all he deals with, and he's a psychiatrist out of Canada, now working in the United States. He has now said that in the United States, we may be up to 10 million. So we've tracked in Australia, Canada, England, Europe. It's off the charts, and the question is, if there's this many victims, and even if we break it down and say, okay, let's say half as many as people are estimating, we're talking in America, 5 million. Where'd they come from? Who has done this? But that's led us in all this stuff to go to every city we've been in. You've got ritually abused people. You've got a coven there in that locality that helped create that person. And if you find one, you're going to find 30, 50, 100 other victims in the same city.
Why do you think that, for all intents and purposes, as far as I can see, this kind of problem has really stayed off the masses' radar? Why do you think it seems to be something that very little people know about?
It is in a lot of ways. Here's what occurred, I think. In the 80s, there was a lot of ramping up, a lot of books on spiritual warfare, things like that. But at the end of the 80s, beginning in the 90s, here's what happened in law enforcement. All across America, law enforcement began to develop cult crime investigators, cult crime units to handle this. Now, also, the American Psychological Association, their DSM-3, which is their diagnostic manual, DSM-4, those manuals had to be changed because of this problem. The insurance industry, hundreds of millions of dollars, because when these victims come in, and they don't know how to deal with it, they don't know how to deal with the spiritual side, they don't know what to do with the stories. So what's happened is, in a real sense, behind the scenes, it's off the charts, but you can at least see the numbers. You can at least see in the American Psychological Association across America what they've done with it. And yes, it is true because it's a bizarre thing, but It is in our view, in our experience, in our testimony, it's this: the most supernaturally covered or secretive agenda that I've ever engaged. It is networked, it is vast, but it is supranaturally covered. And again, people can either they can believe that, they can question that if they want. All I can do is now give testimony. We've been there too many times, too many hundreds of victims, too many thousands of hours, and that's and it's still off the charts and growing. And so I think the public has a problem handling. It's like when victims come in, I'll make an officer that brings one, or a psychiatrist that brings one, or a teacher, or even another pastor. If they have a victim, that these kind of underground victims, I'll say, come here to the office and let's watch what occurs. And what they'll see is full-blown, live, demonic manifestation to the point these spirits are speaking and screaming and talking, subpersonalities by the dozens that speak numerous other languages, have massive information, unbelievable stuff, because they need to see this to be able to grapple with it.
Agreed. Do you think? But I think before we really get into the meat of what we're going to talk about, we need to define sort of what satanic ritual abuse is. Can you give some examples of sort of what people have gone through during this abuse and what we're really talking about?
Sure. In Satanism as a whole, and I would not doubt that there'd be Satanists listening tonight. There's the Church of Satan, Anton LaVey, and all of that kind of thing. There's Nicholas Schrack, Abraxas Society. There's a lot of dark occultism. There's the traditional Satanists, the Cathedral of the Black Goat style out in California, where they're really into the powers and direct worship of Satan. So you've got varieties of Satanists and even Aleister Crowley's past materials. So you've got a lot of different variety. But what we're talking about is transgenerational, multinational, very, very old Satanism. These are the folks that have the old rituals. They're bloodlined. It's what you kind of picture, the kind of covens that meet, but they're far more sophisticated. And for what we've engaged, this goes back to Europe in the 30s, 40s, and it has sprung from there after the Nazis. Satanic ritual abuse is, in all the cases right now, we're talking now millions. And even if someone wants to say, okay, just a few hundred thousand, that's pretty big. A satanic ritually abused person. This is a person who definitely was born in the coven setting. They were chosen for it. There were rituals done for preconception, in utero, afterwards. It's all about the bloodlines, the power of demonic presence in the blood, the creation of a superhuman with abilities and powers that are inherent. They believe in the genes because of the blood, the power of their blood. And then from that childhood on, they're dissociated, they're split. That is, through trauma-based, there's a causing. They cause splits in the human soul. So you can call it psyche, or we talk about it as a soul, to where you have sub-personalities. Now, that's on the charts. Anybody that's in psychology knows that's defined clearly in the DSM-3, DSM-4 books. Everybody knows they're dealing with it. There's movies about it now. But by 1992, Holly Hector from Centennial Hospital in Denver estimated 2.4 million, and out of that, close to 90% having satanic ritual abuse background. We have found that it's about 96% of all the victims. It's all created in that process from childhood on. They'll go through marriage to the beast. They'll go through hundreds of rituals by the time they're 13. They'll have numerous personalities created, programmed, trained, demonized. Yet the outside person can be sent to school, can be sent to a church, can be outside in society operative, being amnesic. They're created to not know what's inside of them. So for a lot of them when they're young, the fear factor, the threat factor, the programming, if you want to call it hypnosis factor, all keeps this extremely suppressed. And then there's the supernatural factor. So the difficulty now, though, is when a police officer hears it, they just think they're like, we've engaged with so many officers over the last 20 years. Usually they just take somebody, throw them in a car, and take them to the psych ward. That's their response. So it's got to be a very careful evaluation and an engagement, and what's there can be found out. And well, that's primarily, we're talking babies from childhood on, and anyone that would be listening tonight from your show, I have no question they are listening tonight, and their sub-personalities are listening tonight, and they want to see what's going to be said on the subject. They're out there.
I mean, I can completely concede with you there. I mean, it happens. I mean, even with some of our other shows, I think we've seen evidence that happens just because of our knowledge and awareness. You know, I like to say basically a quote from Nietzsche, which is, or it's kind of a misquote, honestly, because of his true intent. But, you know, you look into the abyss long enough and eventually it's going to look back at you. I think a lot of people that are interested in the paranormal fail to truly comprehend what that can mean for them, especially if you start tying up with, sometimes even accidentally through private homes and such, groups like this, and you never really know who you're talking to, and it does create a sort of a paranoia, I believe. And your group in particular, can you take us through some of the stuff that you do to combat this?
Sure. Our main thing would be the help, healing, getting them set free, getting them out of this stuff when victims call. And when we had young kids coming out of, this, again, the Anton LaVey style, the traditional style, and the traditional style can be, bad enough because that will involve some animal blood ritual at least. It'll also involve sexual rituals. Now, when we're talking satanic ritual abuse, we're talking extreme, horrific, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical. We call it transmuting them because what's placed there. Now, here's, for example, going to that psych ward years and years ago, 14-year-old girl. I just got back from Opata. It's a police academy. We were on occult crime training at the time. And the reason was because we had so many people showing up, so many people we're dealing with, we wanted to learn everything we could. So come back that night, get a phone call, go to the psych ward, meet this little girl. She wants to either learn ritual practice herself, wanted me to bring her books on how she can conjure spirits and send them against a mother, or inside of her was this repeating nonstop programming that was saying, on your birthday, you are to, cover yourself in flames, draw this ritual stuff out, and light it as a demonstration of your loyalty to the mother. Now, the mother is called a mother of darkness in the ancient brotherhood. She has dozens of sub-personalities, priestesses inside, demonized. You can look at them and talk to them, but when they switch to the alter personality, a priestess, we've talked to a lot of them, assassins, runners, informers, those who can do recon. You'll find some of them where inside they can speak 5, 6, 7 other languages, including ancient ritual languages, twilight languages, where they conjure. They know how to write these languages, they're like Oguam and Belteshazzar, things like this. They know how to do these. We've engaged it. We've here's what we've done. We've taken victims and said, okay, we'll go wherever you want us to go. So when we tracked the little girl, 14-year-old girl, we found, 35-minute drive. She had memories of a barn place. So we went and tracked all of it. Sure enough, we found it, found animal bones, ritual site inside. That's what we began doing back in the early 80s, led us to multiple sites, multiple, states, even in one place digging up for human bones to bring back to the university. One of the most horrific and I mean, in hearing a little bit about you guys earlier on the show, knowing what I heard from you guys, if you walked into the site, you would have known. When we were taken deep into the woods in Pennsylvania, we found that we were so far back in there, we had no idea if we were being set up or whatever, because that's happened many times in the past. We're being taken back in there by an individual out of Fort Bragg, out of the Monarch Project. It's probably, I've already engaged probably 25 sub-personalities, numerous ones that could speak all kinds of languages, highly trained psychic warrior types, others and so forth inside them. They wanted us to see a main ritual site. We got to the area. On the tree was a black mask indicator. On one other one was a satanic justice symbol. Symbols everywhere. When we drove down into it, again, deep into the woods, circular area. Everybody got out of the car instantly to go look into places for the bones and all this kind of stuff. When I got out of the car, I will tell you that I've never in my life, and I've been to a lot of different places, felt as if half of hell was there in the air, as if they were in the air, on the ground. The presence was so thick. It's as if we were being observed. We did dig up bones. We did get out of there as soon as we could. Those are the kind of places. We had a federal officer's wife we worked with 4 years. We tracked covens. So there's a lot of the stories, and there's some really horrific ones, which includes the death of girls here in this area, live cases that we're on right now, turning state's evidence on the folks that we know that did it. And it just goes on. And here, I guess if I can express, if there's those who are skeptics about it, please at least look into it and listen to the voices of the victims. No one has gone through more sexual, perverted abuse, mental abuse, traumatic abuse to create the subpersonalities, to lock them into the coven and make them loyal. The demonization is terrible. And in secular psychology, it's millions and millions of dollars being spent on it and trying to help them. And there's just more and more coming. That's all I'm going to say. There's more and more of these kind of victims coming.
Have you ever come into contact, and I'm almost sure you have, with someone that I would term as perfectly possessed, basically that they've completely accepted what's inside them, there's no conflict whatsoever, they are who they are, more or less?
Absolutely. A lot of the encounters that we have in dealing with, some could call exorcism, and the movie you mentioned earlier, I saw the last at the end of the show, as you see the ritual, the behind the scenes thing, it was there all the time. And here's again what I'm saying, in every city where there's a victim, it means there is a coven. And here's what we found. Every city in the United States has one, has more, and has a coven, and it's been operative for 40, 50 years. It's broader than anybody thinks. But yeah, we've dealt with individuals. I mentioned the federal officer's wife. We were set up so many times. There was attempted murder on our staff members. There were break-ins into our offices. There were symbols on our cars, bullets on our cars. But the possession level, never have I seen someone so opposed to God, to Christ, to what we were doing. They wanted to stay in what they were doing. They believed they were superior, that they had the great power, that they didn't want to give it up. Now that's happened numerous times. There are those who do not want to give up this power nor the abilities that they've been given, and they're part of an agenda for the future.
With this being as rampant as it is, why do you think that we don't hear more about it in the media from the law enforcement community? Why do you think it's so wrapped up as far as that goes?
Good question. Here, when I was in, even when law enforcement agents that we met, and they saw what we were doing, they took us got us in, kind of slipped us under the rug into the police academies and stuff to learn, to Def Tech, a SWAT team training area, to see all this, hundreds of slides of ritual sites, deaths, decapitations, pentagrams carved in chests, tongues missing, hands missing, depending on the kind of rituals, the hands of glory or the, different kinds of rituals, different things. But in every single police academy setting, whether down south, whether up north, whether they're at the university, the officers, the cadets, all of them were trained, shut up about satanic rituals, shut up about Satanism, just deal with the crime. Don't incite panic. Everyone was trained that way. Even the cult crime, quote, trained officers were told to do it that way. Even those who've written books on the subject. And so it's all about that issue. Now, see, I'm sitting watching slides, seeing the blood and I wrote about one of those videos, a police video, and I wrote about the story in the book. It's just called The Story of the Pink Head. I don't know how graphic we can get here, but you stopped me along the way. But the video at that law enforcement training on advanced cult crime.
I will let you know we are on an FM transmitter. So,
okay. Well, there'll be no.
Sure.
Well, it was a head of a girl.
Yes.
That's all there was. She had no hair. She had no face, skin. It's all been peeled off in a ritual while she was alive. And here's what we've seen again and again and again and again. So law enforcement agents that we've dealt with, officers, first of all, when they see this, when they see the spiritual nature of it, I'm going to tell you right now, regardless of the guns they carry, there's many of them that I know personally, they don't want to mess with it at all. Most of the law enforcement agents that are trained in cult crime, they're not spiritually attuned to what to do about it. And so their mentality is deal with the crime, turn them over to psych wards. So that's pretty much their avenue. Where we've taken back in the 80s the idea of, you know what, we're going to form a team, which was mainly ex-law enforcement, and we're going to go after this. We're going to go underground. We're going to infiltrate. We're going to go into the Black Sun Camp. We're going to go to these places. We're going to be in the woods. We're going to do surveillance. We're going to bug. We're going to do what we need to do to see how far this goes. Now, when that is done, that's where you're going to find enormous evidences. Now, the other side of this, and here's what I need to express: the supernatural side is the number one reason it stays suppressed and hidden. They even have a ritual in September called the Hands of Glory that involves the possibility of seeking powers for the sake of invisibility. Now, this occurred in Cleveland when a priestess and others had come down. They had done massive rituals, blood rituals. The goal was to see, they came to the church, they came to see, they showed up in my driveway to see if I was dead. Because the ritual that they did was a death ritual. When we responded to it with law enforcement in Cleveland, Ohio, they finally literally had to almost break down this person's door because the federal officer's wife was missing. They got into the room. It was packed from one side to the other with nothing but ritual materials, including vials of blood. The law enforcement agents, they didn't know what to do about it. They had no idea what they were seeing. In some cases, the Haitian style of palamahombi or abakwa. In other cases, it was when they actually were deep in woods or in a sub basement somewhere, and they find a basement that has a pentagram and all kinds of symbols. They don't even know what it is, so they discard it, and they deal just again with the crime. It has to be prayed. We have to. Our goal is to break the barrier in a really aggressive prayer mode to really break that secrecy, and that works. And so we find perpetrators, we find individuals, and the other side of the story is though they find us. They show up with weapons on the field, and to every one of our workers, they've been to their homes. Everyone's gotten threatened all along the way. But again, you're correct about a large public. I mean, other than movies like we just saw, The Last Exorcism, or for example, the Exorcism of Emily Rose. True story as far as the background. They failed because she was a multiple. She had subpersonalities. That's where the languages came from, and they failed in dealing with the physical human side of the splitting and programming as compared to the demonic side or the spirit side. There's so much to it that without digging in and going after it, it will just, deeper than the mafia, deeper than drug trade, it'll stay, that dark river will stay, under the radar.
And you mentioned basically the assassin types a little earlier. Have you come into contact with them, and can you describe sort of what you mean as far as assassin type personalities?
Sure. When we and for us, again, a lot of this came as experience along the way. We were already engaged with a number of victims, with a number of multiple, subpersonalities. We already knew about concept of assassins, but I'm in a car. I'm traveling with what is called a monarch project person. They were the most spiritually dark, spiritually powerful person I've ever met. We're driving down the road in the valley of Ohio area where ritual stuff's going. She's actually taking us to a ritual spot. And finally, a switch occurs, and another personality was there, and they told me to pull over. So I pulled over. I had these guys, we call them piggybackers that are behind us and they're driving with us. So I pull over. It's kind of rainy and foggy and completely dark, and just a tiny light inside the car is on. And all of a sudden, they reach down in their bag and they pull out a 9mm. They pulled back and showed me that it was chambered with a bullet. They never looked at me, and I began to ask, who are you? And their answer was, their only answer was assassin. We discussed some of the issues. They finally handed me the gun and said, "Do you want to see, my weapon?" So I took the weapon. I looked at it, prayed, right then whether I should give it back or not. Handed it back. They then looked at me shocked and said, "They told me you would shoot me." And I said, "Who told you?" Handlers, outside folks, cut folks, whatever, that I would, if I got hold of the gun, that I would shoot them. And I said, "Well, listen, then why would you give me the gun?" And again, they said, well, first of all, it wouldn't hurt. And second of all, they don't die. Now, that's part of the programming. Now, I ended up discussing with this assassin, and I met other assassins and other of these individual victims. But here's where it goes back, and here's where, again, people can do the research. 1947, G.H. Estabrooks, world-renowned psychiatrist hired by the military, writes a little book on hypnotism. It's still out there. It's rare. You can hardly get it. But he has a chapter called The Weaponization of Hypnosis, where the process of creating sub-personalities in the military context, he describes how they do it, what they do with the sub-personalities, that they create them for being a reconnaissance agent, a disinformation agent, an assassin, like the Manchurian Candidate type. They already stipulated clearly in 1947 that they were able to do this with soldiers, that they could create the sub-personalities without the main person, like say the soldier's name's Joe. Well, Joe, though, doesn't know. They create what's called they're amnesic. They don't know the sub-personalities are there. But the handler can give a code or a trigger to a sub-personality, and at another time simply put a phone call in and trigger the sub-personality to do what it is they're programmed to do. If it's to assassinate, if it's to kill. Now, this is 1947. This is military and psychiatry combined. You go back in those days to Sidney Gottlieb, and that goes back to the clearly now the massive amount of material from the Freedom of Information Act, the MK Ultra projects. There's no question they were involved and they could do this. And in almost all of the kinds of ritually abused that we've dealt with that are called, in their terms, called chosen ones, they all have assassin personalities inside, all of them.
It's hard to hear that and not think of this, certain things that have happened, like Jared Lohner in Tucson, the Virginia Tech shooter, a lot of the mass murderers, at least in the past, 10 years. Do you feel that that might have something to do with those events?
Now here's, I immediately have people usually, email me right away when these events occur. And so I did a thing here lately, I think it was Monday or Tuesday of the last week, where I went over a 10-point grid in looking, because we had shooters, in Pennsylvania, we had them in Finland and Germany, other places. Now here's the issue. The VTech shooter was probably, as far as going through the grid that we work with, I absolutely believe there was programming and mind control involved in that process in his life. There's also a background with psychological papers, whatever. But the Jared issue, in observation, and again, we've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of hours in 28 years with victims where they would switch, where they would be the ones that would attack, where they were proficient in weapons, highly proficient, whereas the main person wouldn't even know how to hold a gun. The main person wouldn't even know what to do. They wouldn't know where the safety was. The main person wouldn't know anything, but a sub-personality, they can pull the gun apart, put it back together. They were expert in their shot. The VTech shooter had a 60% kill rate, better than a SWAT team member. Now, this Jared, there's indicators. I don't know him. I haven't met with him. We don't diagnose until we actually meet with somebody and actually talk with sub-personalities and deal with that. But he has indicators. At the very least, there is clearly a dark presence in and on his life. But I do believe there's more than just that.
Right, and if anyone's ever seen the mugshot picture, I mean, it's hard not to imagine it. Especially if you're familiar with those. For something, it's in the eyes for me, for some reason. Certain people just have certain looks they can give you or feelings they can communicate with body language that lets you know to absolutely be on guard. And you see that in certain people. I mean, even just walking down the street some days, they let you know that they're there. Absolutely. Do you believe that, it sounds like, you've done quite a lot of this. You've been in quite a number of dangerous situations. How do you use spiritual warfare to fight this? What do you do?
Well, the overall thing is, the bottom line is, knowing Jesus, knowing the living Christ, the Spirit of God inside, knowing the authority, because now we've been through so many exorcisms, hundreds of them. There's now an experiential feel of it all and sense, and even you know how they work, you know how it operates. So I'm just saying, and I've been asked that many times in teaching at a police academy thing where I'm not allowed to talk about the spiritual side, but unless they ask. So when they do ask, I tell them, listen, one thing I know for sure. In every case in 28, actually the deliverance side we've probably been doing for over 30 years, but in every case, the dark spirits, they know the authority of Christ. They are terrified of the presence of Christ. It is as if they're outed when the authority of Christ is used. And this is part of what we teach. In a lot of what we do, we teach the principles of spiritual warfare. We teach how we can actually help break into these coven areas. Now, for me, anybody asks me, even skeptics, there's no question demonic presence is real. They know how to summon spirits and send them. People have heard about hexes and curses and spells and things like that. And for those who are biblically minded, Old Testament, all the way to the New Testament, Revelation 16, it shows the mother of all rituals. A demonstration of this in the future. Here's what we found. They have, in the ones that have sub-personalities, some personalities are demonized, some are not. When they do come around you, there is what you said earlier about the eyes, especially when they switch. When they switch to a demonized cult program personality, they're always blackened, glazed over, menacing, and they're almost unstoppable when they attack or whatever it is that when they do what they do. One individual that just came back after missing for 2 days, 5 law enforcement agents were in the room when he came through the crowd, and the sub-personality in him attacked me because they knew who I was. I'm a pretty good-sized guy and been trained. It took me 3 to 4 times blows to break his grip from my neck. I couldn't even speak the name Jesus, anything. When I did that, law enforcement came in. He fought with 5 of them. His strength was supernatural. His quickness was supernatural. They leg chained him. They arm chained him. The detective held him down. I had one hand on his chest. It took 5 people to handle him chained because of where he was. But as I began to do, commanding in Jesus' name and using the authority of Christ, that's in Luke's Gospel, chapter 10, there is usually an immediate manifestation of that power, that presence there. Then we'll engage that. And officers or not, I engage that. They heard it themselves. They saw what they saw. And once you see it once, you never forget it. Once you feel when these things manifest completely, you never forget that. But what we need to know is that the ramping up, there'll be more of this in the next number of years than we've seen in the last 30 years. It will grow in ways that nobody has seen. It will not go away. More victims are coming. We're into the fourth generation of victims now. We have 8-year-olds that we've been called to, same thing. So there is an absolute need for spiritual protection. And I just, again, confess that God alone has been the one to protect us unbelievably. I mean, we've had people, when we had numerous cases going on, lived in a safe house, weapons were there. Weapons had been drawn a number of times. There's been some pretty edgy, things. And the worst was when they declared they were coming to my home to steal my 2-year-old daughter. They came right into the church, right down to the front, and made that declaration known. So once you do go under the carpet and start dealing with them, they don't care if you're dealing with some things. But if you go to deal with them and their secrets, and you go to deal with victims that are connected to a coven and try to get them out, you will be in for a battle.
Speaking of that, and I think we've only experienced, at least me personally, one particular time when we dealt with someone that was, as you say, ritual, basically suffered satanic ritual abuse for all intents and purposes. Have you ever experienced an outside physical manifestation of it, independent of the person?
Oh, the demon stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure. Sure. There's times in the middle of the night. Now, again, we don't have probably time tonight, but we understand their use of demonized astral projection, demonized remote viewing for attack. We understand their ability to send spirits, the timing of the rituals. You waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, there's a reason for that. Rituals are done sometime up to that point. When they conjure, they send. And so numerous times in the house or on the field, with or without them, there's no question. If a place has been demonized, if the doorways have been opened in a home, in a basement, in an old building, in a barn, wherever the doors have been opened, there is a presence there. And the broader the door, which usually means blood rituals have been done, then the stronger that presence will be.
Agreed. And I guess I have to, since we're coming close and getting a little short on time, I got to ask you the kicker. Basically, sum up the night. Do you believe we're in the end times as far as what we experience as Christians?
I believe it is my personal opinion that the Antichrist has already been birthed in a ritual, that he's already in Europe. I don't know if it's going to be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Everywhere I've done conferences all over, when I'll ask that question, how many here believe that we're in the end days, that we have 5, 6, 8, 10? Everybody, there's nobody everybody that we've dealt with. And we now see that we had 2 million downloads in the last year in 90 countries of this information. The Russians are dealing with it. The Germans are dealing with it. The French are dealing with it. The Canadians are dealing with it. This is multinational. Anybody that's dealing with ritually abused folks that get to cult-oriented priestesses or cult-loyal sub-personalities, they're going to find out that every one of them believe they have been created and chosen to be the troops of the Antichrist, to come that they will be triggered at some point in history. That's where the term Black Awakening comes. It's not my term, it's theirs. They explained it to me in detail, that it's their day in which they will unleash all hell, chaos on earth. The goal, collapse nations, collapse law enforcement, military systems, political systems, the grid, everything, in order to make way for a new regime to rise and a new power. I believe without question that we are in the very end of days. What Jesus spoke in Matthew 24 about him being unprecedented, unequaled in all of history. The spiritual manifestations, I'm just saying in my belief, in what I believe biblical prophecy teaches, and in our experience, are going to go, we've seen nothing in the last 20 years, 30 years, we've seen nothing compared to what we're going to see in the next couple of years.
Yes, sir. I completely agree. I mean, I don't think when someone, I agree with you, like whenever you go to places and ask people, there's very few souls that say no. That, you know, and that's not even dependent on if they're Christians.
Agreed.
Yeah, you have, for some reason, there's an overriding feel or overarching theme that we seem to be close.
I opened the book that way, that you can feel it in the air. And I've heard folks like in Coast to Coast and others, they've talked about it for years too. You can feel it in the air, and there's biblical, you know, revelation and prophetic biblical revelation that speaks about, you know, there's such vast information there. I encourage folks to look at the biblical prophetic revelation. What it is part of it is God saying what he's going to do, what mankind's going to do, but also it's the number one place to get a heads up. What is the sequential rise of radical evil and the events that are about to occur? Only there you'll find explicit details about, it's like God is telling us hell's playbook, and here's what's going to be occurring, and here's how to prepare, and it really is all coming down to it.
Yes, sir. And unfortunately, our time tonight's coming to a close, and I regret if I didn't give you time to let us know about your websites and where we can purchase your book.
Sure. Hey, listen, we really appreciate the conversation here, and I'm really glad that you've allowed this out there. For anybody who wants to know anything, how to get the book, all the information, hundreds and hundreds of training materials, all free. The book on the website, shatterthedarkness.net, www.shatterthedarkness.net. From there, they can get everything.
Yes, sir. And I'll tell you this, we'll definitely need to do this again, perhaps with a little more time.
Sure, that'd be great. Anytime.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You have a great night, and thank you so much for being a guest.
Great. Thank you. God bless. Good night.
Too. Well, fellas?
Wow. You know what? I really enjoyed sitting back listening, and we're definitely going to get him back on really soon. I'm definitely kind of blown away. Big fan now. I agreed with a lot of the things he said. We've seen a lot of the things he said, and we've had a lot of the experiences that he's mentioned. We've even been deep in the woods with armed people. You know, very similar to that. It's crazy. It's crazy. But it's almost it's a reassuring that you're not out there alone doing this.
I know. You're like,
really
okay, thank God someone else is experiencing this.
Yes, it is. But, you know, I'm blown away. I'm very, very, very pleased with our guest tonight, and very informative, and he definitely kind of hit home again, and definitely kind of what we need to hear. And I hope our listeners and everybody else out there enjoyed the guest tonight and enjoyed our first hour of the show. I think our guest next week is going to be Chuck Parker.
That's your agent?
Yes, that's my agent with Parker and Sloan. He's got a new DVD out, Ghost of Galena. So he'll be on there next hour next week, so it should be a lot of fun. Enjoy. Looking forward to having him on. Just want to reinvite everybody to please check us out coming up at the Phoenix and Dragon in Atlanta, Georgia. January 28th, February 12th, Mystical Emporium at 7 p.m. in Montgomery, Alabama. February 18th through 20th, Cottanooga in Chattanooga, Tennessee. March 19th, Sloth Furnace Investigation. May 20th through 22nd in Magicon, and June 3rd through 5th, Con Carolinas.
I was going to say, did anyone pick up when I was asking about that particular physical manifestation? Did anyone pick up what case? Do you know, David? Not the lady, David. Your case. Your case.
Yeah.
We don't need to say any more than that, but
yeah. Yep.
basically a case where we experienced, and I'd kind of forgot about it for a while, that the people involved in this case had actually been victims.
Yes, they have.
And
That's almost an important part of that story that we leave out a lot of times.
we sure do. I mean, it's one of the, yeah.
It really is.
I mean, I think that, and the reason that I wanted him on is I think he goes hand in hand sort of with a lot of the things we talk about on the show, especially when you get into your conspiracy thing.
Yeah.
You know, it marries into that. I think that, and that's just me putting pieces together. I could be completely wrong, but I think a lot of what you talk about extends into that.
Oh, it does. It very much. I think it ties into it a lot.
Yeah.
It really does.
So the big question being is, are you going to walk me to my car tonight?
I think I will, Jake.
David, can you hang back and walk me to the car tonight with your gun?
Absolutely. I think we all need to walk each other, Joe.
Yeah, I know.
Hey,
I need
wow.
to change my pants a little.
Yes.
Goodness gracious. Well, Jake, you ready to wrap this up with John Wesley's rule? Do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as you ever can. Guys, I'm Sean Sellers with the one and only Jake Bell, doing a fantastic job interviewing our guest tonight, David Humphrey, our producer Michelle Sellers. Check out SeanSellers.com and SouthernParanormalResearchers.org. Appreciate everybody listening. Good night, guys. We love y'all.